Welcome to the Velvet Story, where every whisper has weight and every silence hides a truth. In tonight's chapter of Beneath the Mask, lines blur between business and betrayal, between trust and temptation. Meelam returns not as a scandal, but as a storm. A past lover becomes an unexpected ally. An old flame reignites rivalry. And behind every boardroom door, another mask is waiting to fall. So settle in, press play. Because behind the elegance lies the war no one sees. And tonight, that war begins. Chapter 10, The Distance Between US. The sun filtered through glass walls as Meelam stood before the large marble desk of the new office suite. The air smelled faintly of leather and cedarwood polish, every surface pristine. Her heels clicked across the polished floor, confident, elegant, unafraid. She didn't wear red this time. She wore ivory, calm, poised, and untouchable. Keen Yiran stood by the window, holding 2 coffees in his hands. He turned as she walked in, offering her the one he already knew she liked, oat milk, no sugar, with a whisper of cinnamon. "I wasn't sure if you'd come," he said gently. "I wasn't either," she replied. But she had. Not because she trusted him blindly, never again, but because somewhere deep inside, she was tired of running from herself. She wanted to rebuild, not from charity, but with dignity. And if Keen Yiran was offering the match to light that fire, then so be it. She took the coffee from his hand without a smile. But he understood. That was her answer. The floor they occupied wasn't in his main corporate building. He'd arranged a private space, discreet, high security, with no leaks to the press. No one knew Duan Meelam had stepped back into business. Not yet. There was power in quiet preparation. She walked the floor, reading the proposal he'd shared, redlining her own thoughts. When she returned the folder, her eyes met his squarely. 3 conditions, she said. He nodded. Name them. 1. I want full decision-making power over design and branding. Done. 2. No one outside your legal team and mine knows I'm involved until I decide to reveal it. Fair. She hesitated on the 3rd. 3. If this becomes personal, again, we end it. Immediately. I won't risk everything for another mistake. His eyes flickered, not hurt, but something like restraint. Understood, he said, voice calm. You won't be the one making mistakes, Meelam. Her gaze faltered, just slightly. There it was again, that quiet pull between them, the hum in the silence. She cleared her throat and looked away. Good. Then let's begin. By afternoon, the space buzzed with the soft rhythm of whispered discussions, digital presentations, and newly hired assistants unpacking sample materials. Keen Yiran didn't hover, but he lingered, always nearby, always watching. He let her lead. She noticed. Even when he disagreed, he let her speak first. Even when clients deferred to him, as most still did, he redirected attention to her with subtle, effective gestures. A word here, a nod there. And people listened. By lunch, she hated how much that meant to her. She was reviewing fabric mock-ups in the private conference room when a knock interrupted her. Come in, she said without looking up. He entered, but not alone. A tall, stunning woman followed him in. She wore sleek black trousers, an emerald blouse, and heels that seemed made for walking on hearts. Her lipstick was red, not the kind Meelam wore, but the kind that warned. Keen Yiran gave no introduction. So the woman did it herself. Miss Duan, she said, her voice velvety. I'm Tang Xinyu, Director of Overseas Partnerships at Yiran Group. And, an old friend. Meelam didn't rise. She offered a polite nod. Director Tang. Tang Xinyu's gaze slid down Meelam's tailored suit, then across the room. I must say, she continued, smiling coolly, I was surprised to hear you've returned. Most women would be too embarrassed. Meelam's expression didn't change. Then most women aren't me. Keen Yiran stepped in. Xinyu, that's enough. But Meelam raised a hand. It's fine, she said calmly. Everyone's entitled to their assumptions. They don't change facts. Tang Xinyu's lips curved. Facts are fragile things, Miss Duan. They twist under pressure. So do weak people, Milam returned. Their eyes locked. Eyes meeting flame. For a moment, even Qin Yiran stayed silent. Then Tang Xinyu laughed, light and poisonous. I see why you're drawn to her, she murmured to Qin. She bites. I see why I left you, he replied smoothly. Milam blinked. Tang Xinyu's smile faltered for half a second before she turned on her heel. Enjoy your little project, she said over her shoulder. Let's see how long this one lasts. And she was gone. The door shut. Milam stared at the closed space for a long moment before speaking. Old flame? She asked lightly, but her fingers were tense. Qin sighed. It was years ago. Nothing important. She seems to think otherwise. She thinks many things, most of them incorrect. She didn't respond. Instead, she returned to the samples, silent, focused, but her eyes were too sharp, too cold. He watched her quietly, then said, for what it's worth, you handled that better than I would have. No, she said, not looking up. You handled it better, with silence, like you always do. He tilted his head. Is that an accusation? It's a reminder. He stepped closer, voice low. If I stayed silent, it's because I'm learning. You don't need rescuing, Milam. You need space. That stopped her, because in a strange, terrifying way, it was the perfect answer. That night, back at the apartment, Milam stood by her brother's bed again. She told him everything, not because he could respond, but because her heart couldn't carry it all. Zhenghao, I think I'm falling again. And I don't know if it's strength or weakness. His eyes blinked once, then again. She smiled, barely. You think it's strength? A third blink. She exhaled. Then I'll try. Across the city, in a high-rise corner office, Qin Yiran reviewed files from the past 6 months. Milan's accident, the doctored photos, the missing CCTV footage from the hotel that night. Something didn't add up. And then, a name surfaced. Not Lin Zhao, but someone else. A shadow from Milan's inner circle. A woman, a cousin. And as he leaned back, lips tightening, he whispered, it wasn't just Lin. She was betrayed from inside. His eyes darkened. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. End of chapter 10. Chapter 11, Rumors, Roses, and Ruins. Zhu Milam sat at her desk, the city buzzing beneath the high-rise windows. The fabric samples were forgotten beside her, the new company logo on the tablet screen untouched. Instead, her eyes were fixed on a grainy photo Qin Yiran had placed before her just minutes ago. It showed the hotel hallway. The night of her wedding. A woman, slim, with familiar posture, slipping out the emergency exit. Her cousin, Zhu Yulian. Milan's heart clenched. She was at the hotel? Her voice barely above a whisper. Yiran stood beside her, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Security logs show she signed in as a guest. She left at 3:27 a.m., 20 minutes after you were found. Milan's stomach twisted. She told me she was out of the country that weekend. She lied. The truth came crashing down like cold rain. Zhu Yulian, her sweet-faced cousin. The one who always smiled too wide. The one her parents had taken in like a daughter after her uncle's death. The one who had always been, just a little too interested in the Zhu Group's shares. She had access to everything, Milam murmured. She knew the family schedule. She knew we were vulnerable. And she had motive, Yiran said gently. Your father was planning to divide shares evenly between you and your brother. With your parents incapacitated and your brother paralyzed, she could swoop in as concerned next of kin. Milan's voice cracked. Rage and grief danced in her chest like oil and fire. I trusted her, she whispered. That evening, Tang Xinyu struck again. A headline exploded across financial news apps. Mysterious woman returns, is Zhu Milam Qin Yiran's secret mistress or his business pawn? The article was full of speculative garbage, no source, no proof, but cleverly worded insinuation. That Milam was using her past scandal to gain sympathy and a powerful lover. That she was nothing but a beautiful ghost haunting Yiran's empire. Meelam stared at the article, her hands cold. For a moment, she didn't feel like the CEO she was building herself into, just a woman being pulled back into the shadows she had barely escaped. Then a door opened. Keen Yiran entered, coat slung over one arm. Eyes narrowing as he saw the screen. She knew, he muttered. I should have known she'd try this. It doesn't matter, Meelam said, standing. Let people say what they want. But her voice betrayed her. Tired, frayed, hurt. He walked to her, slowly. Quietly. You're wrong, he said. It does matter. It matters to me. She looked up at him, startled. Before she could speak, the office door burst open again. A man from public relations, red-faced and panting, waved his phone. Sir, Miss Zhu, you need to see this. Now. They watched in silence as a new video played on screen, taken just hours ago. A clip of Keen Yiran stepping out of his car. And beside him, Zhu Meelam, laughing softly, brushing hair from her cheek, her heels clicking beside his in perfect rhythm. Then Yiran turned and handed her a small bouquet of roses. She paused, clearly stunned, then smiled. A real smile. The camera caught it. The internet exploded. Wait, is this the same Zhu Meelam? Power couple vibes. Keen Yiran finally shows emotion for someone. Did he just give her flowers? OMG. The final blow? Someone on Weibo captioned the clip. The secret fiancé of Keen Yiran? Ring love in silence. 25,000 shares in 2 hours. The rumors spread like wildfire. What do we do? PR asked, panic rising. Should we deny it? Meelam stared at the screen, dazed. How did they even film that? An intern from another company. Viral by accident, the PR representative explained. Yiran looked at Meelam. Then slowly, deliberately, he said, let them believe it. Meelam snapped her head toward him. What? He didn't blink. It'll shield you. Right now, public attention is on your past. If they think we're engaged, it changes the narrative. You are not a scandal anymore, you are the future Mrs. Keen. They'll protect that image. And what happens when they find out it's a lie? His voice dropped. Then we decide whether to keep pretending. There was something in his eyes. Something unspoken. Meelam looked away, chest tight. You are too good at this, she whispered. I've had practice, he replied, though his voice sounded more like regret than pride. Later that night, after the PR team left and the lights dimmed, Meelam stood alone at the balcony. The city glowed beneath her. So many people still believed in fairy tales. In falling in love and being saved and walking down a golden aisle. She had once believed in it, too. Now, she didn't know what to believe. Behind her, the door opened. She didn't turn. I was angry at you, she said softly, when I woke up that morning. Not because of what happened. But because it felt like something. And I didn't want to admit it. Keen Yiran stepped beside her. I was angry too, he said. Because I thought it was a trap. And part of me didn't want it to be. Their hands touched on the railing. Barely. A pause. A heartbeat. And then, quietly, she asked. Did you know it was me? That night? He didn't answer for a long time. No, he said at last. Not then. But, I remember a thread of red on my coat. Silk. Like a veil. And when I saw you again at the banquet, something in me knew. Her eyes burned. But she didn't cry. I wanted to hate you, she whispered. I really tried. I know, he said gently. I wanted to stay indifferent. I failed. They stood in silence. Two souls broken in different ways, finding strange comfort in each other's ruins. End of chapter 11. Chapter 12, Glitter, Ghosts, and Games. The next morning, Zhu Meelam walked into the office dressed in a simple navy blue suit, her hair pulled back into a sleek low bun. The headlines hadn't stopped. Some praised her elegance, others speculated about her relationship with Keen Yiran, and many continued to churn out theories about her comeback. But she didn't flinch. Let them talk. Her dignity wasn't in silence anymore, it was in control. Good morning, Miss Zhu. One of the interns greeted nervously, slightly awed. She offered a brief smile. Morning. Keen Yiran was already inside the conference room when she entered, sleeves rolled, jacket off, sipping coffee while flipping through a report. His eyes lifted when she stepped in, and something softer passed through them before he masked it again with quiet focus. "You're early," he said. "I had a meeting with our family's lawyer before this," she said calmly, taking her seat. "It seems Zhu Yulian submitted a motion to be appointed as interim chairman." He froze. "When?" "Yesterday afternoon." "She's not even blood related to your father." "Doesn't matter. On paper, she's acting niece, and since both my parents are in comas and my brother is listed unfit for executive decisions, she's trying to legally strip you of your place." Meelam nodded, eyes sharp. "She's clever," she said. "She timed it right after the engagement rumors. She knows how the board will react. Half of them are old men who still think women are emotional liabilities." Keen Yiran leaned back in his seat, his gaze unreadable. "We'll fight it." "No," Meelam said firmly. "I will." He watched her, something like pride flickering beneath his composed expression. But the day wasn't done with surprises. By late afternoon, an embossed black envelope arrived, gilded in silver foil. Formal and overly dramatic. Meelam unfolded it and read aloud. "You are cordially invited to the White Ribbon Gala hosted by Tang Xinyu, celebrating women in leadership." She raised a brow. "A celebration of women by the woman who tried to humiliate me 2 days ago?" Keen Yiran leaned over her shoulder, reading the invitation. "It's bait, obviously, but she knows I can't ignore it. If I don't show, she paints me as fragile. If I do, she'll try to corner you in public." Meelam dropped the card onto the table. "Then I'll let her, and I'll make sure she regrets it." That evening, Keen Yiran found himself standing on the rooftop of the private office tower, staring out into the city skyline. He wasn't a man who dwelled in the past. His world ran on logic, strategy, and detachment. Emotions were luxuries he couldn't afford. But Meelam, she disrupted everything. He remembered the first time he saw her, not the banquet, not the morning after that cursed night, but years ago. A charity event, when she'd still been at university. She'd stood alone in a red cheongsham, quiet but fierce, telling a room full of billionaires that their money wouldn't fix what their apathy destroyed. He hadn't spoken to her then, but he'd remembered her. And now, with each step she took toward reclaiming her life, he found himself falling deeper, not in lust, not even in sympathy, but in awe. She wasn't a fragile iris. She was fire on silk. 2 nights later, the White Ribbon Gala was held at a luxury hotel, crawling with media, influencers, and executives. Meelam arrived in a champagne-colored gown that shimmered like frost under crystal lights. No heavy makeup, no statement jewelry, just presence. Every head turned when she entered. Tang Xinyu saw her immediately, and forced a smile like a dagger behind glass. "Well," she said sweetly, moving forward. "I was starting to think you'd lost your nerve." Meelam tilted her head. "I figured someone needed to bring class to your little tea party." Gasps rippled. Photographers clicked wildly. "Of course," Tang Xinyu said tightly. "And where is Mr. Keen tonight? Or has the engagement expired already?" Meelam smiled. "Why ask me?" And just then, as if scripted, Keen Yiran stepped through the glass doors in a tailored black suit, a single red rose tucked in his pocket. Not on her arm, but headed straight toward her. He didn't touch her, didn't smile, but when their eyes met, he said, "Sorry I'm late." Meelam raised her chin, heart thudding. "You are just in time." Later that evening, the two stood side by side near the ballroom windows, watching Tang Xinyu circle the room like a vulture in stilettos. "She's plotting something," Meelam said. "She always is. I wonder what it's like," she mused. "To be so obsessed with ruining someone else's shine instead of building your own." Yiran chuckled softly. "She's threatened by you. Is that why you were with her once?" Meelam asked suddenly, eyes locked on the crowd. His smile faded. "No," he said after a moment. "I was lonely. She was loud enough to make me forget that. For a while. And now, I'm not lonely anymore." Her breath caught, but she said nothing. Back home, in the quiet of her family's temporary residence, Neelam sat beside her brother's bed, hands resting lightly on the sheets. "They're all moving pieces," she whispered. "Julian, Shinyu, and the rest of them hiding behind polished smiles." She looked at Zhenghu's unmoving face. "But I'm moving too now. And this time, I won't lose." She stood, glanced at the clock, 2:17 a.m. Then her phone buzzed. A message from Keen Yiran. "Check your inbox. I found something." She opened her laptop. An email, with a forwarded internal report. Drug shipment, hotel suite, secret billings, and one name, Zhu Yulian. End of chapter 12. You've just heard another turning point in Beneath the Mask. From glittering rooftops to shadowed betrayals. From ghosted memories to gilded lies. One thing is certain, Neelam isn't just surviving. She's rewriting the rules. But the question is, can love survive power plays? Can truth survive the masks? And what happens when the past refuses to stay buried? This is the Velvet Story. And this is just the beginning. Like, comment, and subscribe if you're ready for more secrets, scandal, and strength, because chapter 13 will change everything.